Have you ever wondered what makes a political system tick? It's like a complex piece of machinery with countless parts working together to create a functioning whole. And just like a machine, each part of a political system plays a crucial role in its overall operation. A political system, at its core, is the framework through which a society organizes itself, makes decisions, and enforces rules. It's like the operating system of a computer. It sets the rules, determines how processes are run, and manages resources. But unlike a computer, a political system also has a profound impact on the lives of the people it governs. The functions of a political system are manifold. It maintains order, mediates conflict, and upholds the social contract between the government and the governed. It also provides public goods and services, ensures national security, and shapes the social and economic environment. But why is it essential? Well, imagine a world without a political system. It would be a world of chaos and disorder, where might makes right and there's no protection for the weak or the vulnerable. A political system, for all its faults and flaws, provides a structure that allows for peaceful coexistence and cooperation. Now, there are different types of political systems, each with its own unique characteristics. Democracy, for example, is a system where power resides with the people, who elect representatives to make decisions on their behalf. Monarchy, on the other hand, is a system where power is vested in a single individual by virtue of birthright. Then there's dictatorship, a system where power is seized and held by a single individual or group, often through force. And finally, there's theocracy, a system where religious leaders hold political power and governance is based on religious law. Each of these systems has its own strengths and weaknesses, its own unique way of maintaining order and managing resources. They are the gears and cogs that make the political machine run, and understanding them is key to understanding how societies function. Different political systems, with their unique characteristics, shape the governance of a nation. So let's delve deeper, shall we? First up, we explore democracy, the government of the people. Democracy is a beautiful concept, a system where power is vested in the hands of the people. It's like a grand social contract where everyone has a say. The people decide who will represent them, who will make the laws, who will enforce them, and who will interpret them. It's a system where the majority's voice is heard, but the minority's rights are also safeguarded. But like every political system, democracy has its strengths and weaknesses. One of its greatest strengths is its commitment to equality and freedom. In a democracy, every voice matters, every vote counts. It's a system that thrives on the diversity of thoughts, ideas, and opinions. Democracy also fosters accountability. Elected officials know they must serve the people well, or they risk being voted out of office. Yet democracy isn't without its flaws. The decision-making process can be slow and inefficient. There's also the risk of the tyranny of the majority, where the majority's will may trample on the rights of the minority. And let's not forget about the influence of money and power in politics, which can lead to corruption and undermine the democratic process. Democracy comes in various forms, with direct and representative democracy being the most common. In a direct democracy, citizens have a direct say in the laws and policies of the government. Think of ancient Athens, the cradle of democracy. In contrast, a representative democracy, like the United States, relies on elected officials to make decisions on behalf of the people. Indeed, democracies are as diverse as the nations that embrace them. From India, the world's largest democracy, to smaller nations like Iceland, each has its unique interpretation and implementation of democratic governance. So there you have it, democracy in a nutshell. It's a system that seeks to balance the will of the many with the rights of the few. It's a system that strives to ensure every voice is heard, every vote counts, and every citizen has a say in the running of their country. Democracy, while not perfect, promotes the idea of power to the people. Next, we delve into the world of monarchy, where the crown holds the power. In its simplest form, a monarchy is a political system where a single family rules from generation to generation. The power, or sovereignty, is personified in the leader, or monarch, who is the head of state until death or abdication. Monarchies come in two main types, absolute and constitutional. In an absolute monarchy, the monarch holds the supreme or absolute power, meaning they are not legally bound by any constitution. The monarch's word is law. A vivid example of this is Saudi Arabia, where the king holds absolute power, unrestricted by laws or other forms of regulation. On the other hand, a constitutional monarchy is a form of government in which a monarch acts as head of state within the parameters of a written or unwritten constitution. Here, the monarch's role is largely ceremonial, with real political power vested in another body, such as a parliament. Countries like the United Kingdom, Japan, and Sweden are prime examples of constitutional monarchies. Now, every coin has two sides, and monarchy is no exception. On one hand, monarchies can provide stability, continuity, and a sense of national unity. They are free from the tumultuous cycle of electoral politics and can make long-term plans for the good of the country. On the flip side, they can also be seen as outdated and undemocratic. In absolute monarchies, the unchecked power of the monarch can lead to abuses and a lack of political freedom. In constitutional monarchies, critics argue that having a hereditary head of state is inherently unfair and undemocratic. Moreover, monarchs and their families often enjoy a high standard of living at the taxpayer's expense, which can lead to resentment among the populace. In the end, whether a monarchy is seen as a charming relic of the past or an outdated institution depends largely on one's perspective. What is clear, however, is that these systems have a long history and continue to play a significant role in the politics of many nations today. Monarchy, a system steeped in tradition, has evolved over time. Now, picture a system where one person or a religious institution holds absolute power. Let's take a journey into the realms of dictatorship and theocracy. These might seem like two different worlds, but they're bound by a common thread: centralized power. In a dictatorship, power is held by one person or a small group, often seized and maintained through force. In a theocracy, authority resides in a deity, with earthly governance conducted by religious leaders on behalf of the divine. Dictatorships are characterized by authoritarian rule, where the dictator has unchallenged authority. The leader's word is law, and opposition is often met with severe repercussions. While this may sound frightening, some argue that dictatorships can provide stability, especially in regions plagued by internal strife. For instance, some point to the regime of Fidel Castro in Cuba as an example of a dictatorship that brought about social reforms and improvements in areas like education and healthcare. However, it's crucial to remember that these potential benefits come at a significant cost. Freedom of speech and human rights are often curtailed, and the lack of political competition can lead to corruption and economic mismanagement. In the case of North Korea, the dictatorship under Kim Jong-un has led to widespread human rights abuses and economic hardship for much of the population. Moving over to theocracies in these systems, religious law forms the basis of governance, and religious leaders or institutions wield the power. Iran is a prime example of a theocracy, where a supreme leader, who is a top-ranking cleric, holds the highest authority. Theocracy's proponents argue that it ensures moral governance, as laws are based on religious principles believed to be divinely ordained. Yet, theocracies also have their drawbacks. They can lead to religious intolerance, as other faiths are often marginalized. In addition, the lack of separation between religion and state may hinder social progress and innovation, as religious dogma can stifle critical thinking and scientific advancement. Moreover, both dictatorships and theocracies tend to lack checks and balances. This absence of accountability can breed corruption and abuse of power. And while these systems can provide stability, they often do so at the expense of personal freedoms and democratic values. Thus, while dictatorships and theocracies can bring about certain benefits, they also come with significant disadvantages. It's important to remember that these systems are not monolithic. They can vary greatly depending on the specific context and leadership. Dictatorship and theocracy, while different, share the common thread of centralized power. They serve as reminders that power, in whatever form it takes, must always be balanced with accountability, respect for human rights, and the freedom for individuals to express their ideas and beliefs. Now imagine politics as a spectrum, ranging from extreme left to extreme right. On the left side of our spectrum, we find liberalism. Rooted in the ideals of liberty and equality, liberalism is all about individual rights, free markets, and limited government intervention. It's the ideology that champions the idea that individuals should be free to make their own choices, both in their personal lives and in the marketplace. Moving rightward, we encounter conservatism. Conservatism seeks to preserve tradition, uphold social order, and maintain stability. It values continuity and is often resistant to quick, radical changes. The conservative ideology emphasizes the importance of traditional institutions and practices, viewing them as tested and proven guides for societal order. Further to the left, we have socialism. This ideology emphasizes social ownership and democratic control of the production's means. It advocates for wealth and power distribution, aiming for a society where everyone benefits equally from collective efforts. Socialism seeks to lessen the gap between the rich and the poor, promoting a more balanced distribution of resources. On the extreme right of our spectrum, we find fascism. This ideology is characterized by dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, and strong regimentation of society and the economy. It often seeks to create a homogeneous society by excluding or suppressing differing views and identities. Each of these ideologies, from liberalism to fascism, influences the political systems they underpin. For instance, a country founded on liberal principles might have a political system that prioritizes individual rights and freedoms, while a country influenced by fascist ideology might have a system that centralizes power and suppresses opposition. These ideologies aren't just abstract concepts, they're the foundations upon which nations are built. They shape our laws, our institutions, and our daily lives. And while they may differ significantly, each ideology represents a different perspective on how society should be organized and governed. Political ideologies provide the ideological underpinning for political systems. But what happens when these ideologies take center stage in a political system? Imagine a stage, if you will. On this stage, we have different actors, each representing a unique political ideology. They each get their turn in the spotlight, their moment to sway the audience, to influence the course of the play. Now, let's bring this metaphor to life. Take socialism, for instance. In countries like Cuba and Venezuela, the government owns and controls the means of production. This egalitarian approach, aimed at reducing wealth disparities, has had mixed outcomes. In some cases, it's led to economic stability and high literacy rates, but in others, it's resulted in shortages of basic commodities and a lack of entrepreneurial spirit. Then there's capitalism, the star actor of places like the United States and Hong Kong. Here, private ownership and free markets reign supreme. The promise of capitalism is the freedom to chase one's dreams, to innovate, and to amass wealth. But the spotlight also reveals its flaws: income inequality, exploitation, and environmental degradation. Let's not forget about communism, with China as its primary stage. Here, the government has total control over the economy and society, leading to impressive infrastructure development and economic growth. Yet, its performance has also been marred by censorship, human rights issues, and lack of political freedom. And finally, there's the hybrid approach of social democracy, as seen in Scandinavian countries. This system combines elements of capitalism and socialism to create a welfare state that ensures high living standards and social security for all. But, like all systems, it's not without its critics who argue it stifles competition and can lead to complacency. Each ideology, when put into practice, has its triumphs and tribulations. They shape not just the political landscape, but the very lives of people living under them. They can foster prosperity or hardship, freedom or repression, equality or disparity. Ideologies in practice can shape a nation's destiny. So, what does all this mean for us as citizens? We've embarked on quite a journey today, exploring the labyrinth of political systems and ideologies. From the democratic ideals that uphold the voice of the people, to the allure of monarchy with its hereditary leadership, and the stark contrast of dictatorship and theocracy, we've seen how these systems shape societies and define the rules of engagement for citizens. In the grand scheme of things, what stands out is that political systems are not just about governance, they are about people. They are about you and me. They are about how we interact with each other, how we make decisions, and how we shape our collective future. They are the structures that guide us, yet they are malleable, shaped by our actions, our voices, and our choices. We've also traversed the ideological spectrum, witnessing the range of philosophies that drive these systems. From liberalism to conservatism, socialism to capitalism, and everything in between, we've seen how these ideologies underpin our political landscape. They are the lens through which we view our world, influencing our perceptions, our decisions, and ultimately, our actions. But why is this understanding important? Because as citizens, we are not just observers of our political system, we are participants. We have the power to shape our own governance, and understanding the system we exist within is the first step towards wielding that power effectively. By understanding the ideologies that underpin these systems, we can better comprehend the motives behind political actions and make informed decisions about who we support and why. So as we wrap up our exploration, let's remember that knowledge is power. The more we understand about our political systems and ideologies, the more capable we are of making informed decisions. Whether it's voting in an election, engaging in political discourse, or simply understanding the world around us, our grasp of these systems and ideologies equips us to participate effectively in our own governance. Understanding political systems and ideologies equips us to participate effectively in our own governance.